All right. Let me know when you guys are ready to go.
Are you ready to go?
All right. Well, it is currently 1:48 a.m. for me, Mountain Standard Time, on the 12th of December, 2025, 12/12/2025. Make a wish if you believe in that shite. And for the boys over in New Zealand, in the rising tide, it is currently 9:48 p.m. So as I just got away from midnight, well, these guys are approaching midnight now in their time zone. This is going to be a very, very special session, I think, because not too long ago, after long ado, we finally hosted Josh and Kahi from Depths, which is what I thought to be a pretty OG deathcore band, and a band that these guys have had Joshua Bain, vocalist of Depths, feature on one of the tracks for their first full-length album. Now, this full-length album is called Trauma. I still have yet to do the proper homework and listen to this record, simply because of being, one, too busy, but two, wanting to save it and let it kind of fester and ferment like, I don't know, the two different sources of alcohol I will be consuming tonight during session. That being we got a Hakutsuru. Yeah, Hakutsuru. It is a draft sake. It is a Junmai. This is 14%. This is going to be a lot of fun. And then, because I'm a big fan of sake. And then we got Jumex. It's literally just like hard juice. And to wash it down, we got a Dr. Pepper cream soda. We got
cream
liquid death.
No, the Dr. Pepper part, though.
Right.
Cream soda's gross.
It is. It can be when it's done too much. But I think there's something special about Dr. Pepper cream soda. Anyways, I have my beverages. I have the things that are going to kind of keep me awake or make the conversation even more fun, as, well, the first session we ever did with a personality, musician, member of a band from New Zealand was none other than Dan Ferguson of both Utilize the Remains and Plague of the Fallen. Now, we are in conversation with Plague of the Fallen to be doing our first session with them next year, which that means that we are going to be opening up 2026 with Irish death metal band Abyssery and then Plague of the Fallen for their new record. And I look forward to getting Dan Ferguson back on the show. But tonight, people, like I said, we are talking with the rising tide. We are going right back to New Zealand, and we are looking to take over and get involved as much as possible with every relevant deathcore and metalcore, sludge, doom, grunge, every band that you can possibly imagine that happens to be located in New Zealand. I don't know why. Maybe it's because the Dan Ferguson session we did was the most listened to Crosscast ever, at 114 streams once upon a time. But, I just enjoyed the conversation. Other people seem to enjoy it as well. And so now we are experiencing our first trilogy in what will be a long-lasting New Zealand saga. Getting introduced to all of their bands and showing the world what this country is capable of. So, we have a formula. We've had a formula for a long time, but of course we like to shake things up every now and then. First half is going to be about the people, the members of the band that we are hosting, right? And we got two of them tonight, which is always great. It's always good to have at least two people instead of one. But in the second half, then, we will have them both depersonalized, and we will see how similar answers are between them for the band side of the questionnaire. But until then, gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
Good, man. Good, bro.
Good. Good.
Thanks for having us on the show.
Absolutely. The more bands, the merrier. The more New Zealand bands, apparently, the merrier. But you guys also cook up some pretty awesome shit down there, over there in this distant magical land where they also happen to film Lord of the Rings, and that's going to be the last time I ever mention that because that is such a basic thing to know about New Zealand. But I'm sure a lot of people there take pride in it because it's cool, it's fun. But tonight,
I love that shit.
yeah, like I said, with mind you, all with a tinier delay, a shorter delay than what we had before, which apparently during the blooper segment, which all the bloopers will be tucked away on the Crosscore Patreon. This will just allow you to kind of see both audio setup, audio testing, and whatever shenanigans and conversations happened to occur before we started the actual session, right? I thought that would be a fun thing for you guys to invest into, and like I said, it's like it's the average price of an OnlyFans creator for something that isn't. No, I'm never going to release any of my explicit regions. Instead, you get cool YouTube content and cool YouTube exclusives, possibly including and not limited to maybe early access to new episodes. We'll see. That'll be something in the future, though. So let's go ahead and get introduced to you gentlemen by your name and your role in the Rising Tide. Please and thank you.
Well, I'm Matt, and I do the yelly, screamy shit.
I'm Phil, I play bass. And we've got Cody who plays guitar, and Ryan who plays the drums.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, it's always awesome to have, yet again, the vocalist and the bassist. That seems to be a very, very common occurrence with the show. I'm not sure why, but it just happens that way. But I'm so happy to have both of you on after all this time, checking out the Rising Tide, being in high anticipation for your first full-length album. And again, suppressing and, just holding myself back from listening to it because that's my niche, apparently, as a music journalist. So I am hyped and I am excited to listen to this record following the session with the context of what will be later on, but not too later on in time, our Under the Skin segment. Now, something newer that we're doing with this show to attempt to make it easier to listen to over on Spotify for the Crosscore, if you will, we will be breaking tonight's session into at least 3 or 4 segments. Each of these segments will have the goal of only being about 45 minutes. So, in this first 30 to 45 minute session, depending on how quickly we get through the questionnaire, what I want to do with both of you gentlemen is whoever wants to go first, go ahead and take us all the way back to when you first got into music, when you first got into practicing your role, the role that you're doing now, and perhaps any bands that you were in before the Rising Tide. Whoever wants to go first, take it away, please.
Go on.
Oh, yeah, sweet. So I used to play a lot of Tony Hawk's, and on Tony Hawk's 2, I think it is, the soundtrack was TNT by AC/DC, and so I hard out liked AC/DC because of that game, and I decided I wanted to play drums, and AC/DC was a big influence for me. Another good reason that I started learning to play drums was I got 20 minutes out of class every week, so that was awesome. I was about 14 then, so school wasn't really my thing. But then I was in another band. My first ever band was called Amplifier, and it was Crap House As. Like, we sucked. And then I remember all the way through school, there was always a cool band and my band. We were never the cool band. And so at some point I wanted to make a band with the dudes that were in the cool band, So once we left school, all their members left and all my members left, and I managed to start a band with them, and Yeah, that was the first shell of the Rising Tide. Yeah, that's how it happened. We had, when we started the band again in 2021, we had our first original guitarist in the band, and me, but then, life got in the way for him, and now it's just me left from the very first ever lineup.
And you went from drums to bass as well?
Yeah, true. I was the drummer for the Rising Tide most of the time I was in the band. But I've got like a bad leg, and Cody started writing music that was just way too hard for me to play. And I was like, well, you can't kick me out of the band because I started it, so what are we going to do here, boys? And yeah, we just decided to, unfortunately, get our old bass player to leave, and I jumped on bass, and yeah, now I play bass.
That's very fascinating.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. I downgraded. But now it's cool because now I get to be up in front of the stage and I can see the crowd and stuff now. I'm not stuck at the back behind all the smoke and...
You're not like doing that, and we're just like trying to look at the crowd like...
Please.
No, that's very fascinating. Like, the thing is, compared to most of the vocalist and bassist combinations that we've had on, most recently, I would quote, I do believe fucking Josh and Kahi from from Deaths, but before that it was what was it? It was Stein and Eirik from Norwegian death metal band Celestial Scourge. That was a really cool opportunity. And then we had Claudio. Oh yeah, technically we didn't have the vocalist on. Claudio just happened to do vocals, but we had the bassist and the guitarist on, so I totally confused myself there. And then before that, I mean, there have been a couple situations before where we've hosted not just the bassist and the vocalist, but the entire band. But recently, there was just like this weird phenomenon occurring where we were hosting just the bassist and the vocalist. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? We've happened to get a lot of bassists on the show, and that is ironically the role that I was trying to pursue for a long time. But the fact that you ended up going from drums to bass is very, very fascinating. And I think it's fascinating because it just means that, you know, whether it was a joke or not, or you look back on it and it kind of ends up being a joke now, just like, he really downgraded, right? But
I really did. I really did.
Ultimately, you know, you have become such a vital part of this band that you're like, okay,
that's right.
I can compromise,
Preach.
I can settle.
Preach.
And therefore you made that change and you switched to a completely different instrument. So, if you started out with drums before the Rising Tide, perhaps. I know bass guitar can be easy, but that doesn't mean it's easy, especially not for a deathcore band. So, how much time did you have in years prepared to play bass before you would end up taking that role in the band? Or was that pretty fresh and you're just like, I'll go ahead and clink-a-dink-a-dink the best I can and see if it works?
I literally played the bass for like 2 weeks.
Isn't it like we were going on tour, you need to play bass because we played bass?
I learned a lot of songs in a day and I just play bass.
That is
wild.
I guess bassists aren't that difficult to find out.
Yeah, it was about 2 weeks.
Yeah, well...
I was like, because I can play guitar. I'm not like great at it, but I can play it.
Mm-hmm.
You're also just Philip fucking Brooks, like the unit and stuff.
I'm an absolute unit, bro. I'm a unit. I'm built different.
He's like, I'm built different exclusively for the Rising Tide, for no one else. This is TRT exclusive. Or TERT exclusive. Oh my god. I just call it TERT. But...
Never heard that one before.
That's funny.
Welcome to Camp TERT.
Yeah, no, it was cool playing the drums, but I don't know, I find bass a lot more fun. It's definitely a lot less stressful when I'm playing.
Yeah?
But, you know, I can kind of just rock out and I just groove along. It's all good. Plus, I like just going hard, bro. Being on stage, headbanging, you know, spinning around, going hard.
Yeah, being able to interact with the crowd more, I'm sure, is a lot more appeasing than being stuck behind a kit and just like everybody can kind of see your arms flailing about. And every now and then you have longer hair, they can see.
Yeah, you can pop those biceps.
Yeah.
But no, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool.
I'm just going to start doing this now. I'm just going to start hitting the John Cena.
It's fucking awesome. Okay. So, you know, you ended up becoming, you've obviously become such a pivotal part of what this band is, and you are the last remaining original member of the band. So I do apologize. It kind of seems like you sped run, or maybe I just am already pretty intoxicated from this draft sake. This tastes terrible, by the way, but I'm still drinking it. So did you have any bands before the Rising Tide? Did I miss that part?
Oh, no, my first band in college was called Amplifier, and we sucked. And then we had another band called Genocide, and that was when we started, like, for college kids, you know, we were like 16, 17, so the music we were writing sucked, but it was like a little bit better.
Right.
And then we had another band called Altered State, and that was when we started, like, playing shows. Even though it was just in town, that was the first time we started playing shows outside of school. And then, yeah, like I said, we left school, and the boys that were in the cool band, they lost all their members, lost our members, and I made a band with them. And we didn't really have a name. We never played shows. We just jammed. And then one of our guitarists, his girlfriend had a friend, and she put a gig on and was like, "Oh, does your boyfriend want to play this gig?" And he was like, "Yep." And so we had two. It was another 3 weeks to write a whole set as a band and go and play a show in a different town.
Okay.
But yeah, we did it.
Hell yeah. So you definitely had the opportunity to do your homework then, as far as, you know, starting out with the lesser quality band, getting into a band later on that became better quality, but you're like, this is not right. We can still do so much better. And then you've also had the opportunity before the Rising Tide to be in a touring act, in a traveling act, which I think that's really the final piece in understanding whether or not a person is made to be on the road or not. And I only say this out of the very minute, experience that I have touring with AZ, Slam, Kingpins, formerly, because they are now split up. They took me on the road with them for a couple days, and despite the sleep that I lost, I was like, you know what, I want to do that for the rest of my life, and I want to do that a lot more, maybe even through acquiring a CDL and having the license to drive big box trucks or even semi-trucks. Well, utilize that CDL and start up a business that's like meant to be a contract or commission-based roadie thing, which I'm sure there are already businesses like that out there, but not really that many for slam or deathcore or metalcore bands. So I'm like, okay, so what if we focused on that niche, like grit truck driving or something? So that's kind of something that is definitely a business I think that needs more attention, and a business that needs more audience, more drivers in the future, because all bands need a roadie. All bands need a driver if they can't afford it. So, here's to that.
Yeah, stuff's expensive.
Yeah.
Very expensive. Very expensive. And that's if you get a driver that's able to stay awake all night. Like, that's tough. That's tough. So, with that in mind, thank you, sir, for introducing us to your story so far. Do you remember the first ever drum set that you got? Like what brand it was, maybe some niche details about the kit?
Yeah, bro. I remember I was about... So, like, I learned to play drums by playing ear drums at home as well. Like, I only had drum lessons for a couple months. After that, I just ear drummed along at home. And while I was doing that, I was trying to save money to go on, like, a trip to Europe. And so I was saving money for weeks on end. And then one of my mates was selling his drum kit for $1,000, and that's all I had. And instead of doing my trip to Europe, I bought the drum kit. But it was a five-piece Ludwig. It came with like good cymbals. I can't remember what they were though. Pearl double kick. And yeah, I just set it up in my room at home, and my parents let me smash away on it for 20 minutes a day. So no more, didn't have to play ear drums anymore. And yeah, so that was the first kit I got. I was about 16.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's definitely about the same age that I ended up getting my my first instrument that I have since sold, and I feel really rotten about it, but really that guitar didn't get nearly as enough attention, or maybe even a break in, if you will, like just getting it warmed up, getting it adjusted to me. It didn't really have that attention. So earlier this year when times got tough, I was like, well, I might as well try to resell it if I don't plan to use it, or if I don't have the necessary knowledge to be able to at least hear my own bass guitar inside of Reaper, which is like the main thing I record with, right? So when I couldn't figure that out, and when times were tough, when I was having to scrape by for money, that's like one of the biggest things I got rid of. And I wish I didn't have to, but I also think that getting a 6-string bass will be a lot more worth it in the future. Did you end up selling your kit, or do you guys still use the kit in the band, or do you have it in your personal possession still?
No, so same kind of deal happened to me, bro. I was poor as. I had to sell the drum kit, but I remember I kept the cymbals and stuff because when we'd play shows, you know, the drum kit would already be supplied, so I had the cymbals and the kicks. But yeah, no, times got tough, man. So I get it.
Fair enough. And in that case, that story feels a little bit more valid because I think I brought that up before, but it's like, oh, that's sad. Moving on. Like, but
Yeah, no, it's real life, bro.
it's real life. It's real shit. So, as far as, you know, you now becoming a bass guitarist or a bassist for the Rising Tide, obviously, you know, you're getting more involved with the technology, everything that goes into your bass guitar, and perhaps on the side,
Nah, bro.
like, no? Okay.
Nah, bro. I legit don't know anything. I don't know anything, bro. I don't even know what my own pedal board does.
I see.
You've only just figured out how to tune all this.
Yeah, I have no idea. I just play the music, bro.
Okay, fair enough. Okay,
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? I'm tuned. I'm in the right tuning. Let's play live.
Yeah. I'm like playing away. I'm like, sweet 5/4, 5/4 1, open, open. That way, if someone tries to say, "Oh, play a G," I'm like, I don't know what that is. Is that an open? Is that a 2? Yeah. My guitarist needs to tell me where all my leads plug into, bro.
I see. Well, if it makes you feel any better, I don't know shit about anything that you're talking about right now. Like plugins, I know that, you know, you're supposed to plug them in. I know pedals. If you get the right pedals, you can just put your foot on it and go like whammy pedals and shit.
Yeah.
Like that's about all I know too. So I think we're in the same boat in that regard. But dude, you're playing bass for a live band. You should probably get more in touch with that shit. Get more passionate, get more intimate with the technology there, my friend.
Yeah. It's real funny too because, like, I'll use someone else's, like, head or something at a gig, and then I'll just be standing there with my lead, like, looking at it, like, what the fuck do I do here? Then my guitarist is like, plug it into that one. I'm like, oh, okay. And he's like, no, not that one, this one. Oh.
Well, I mean, it's a learning process, and as you continue to be a bassist for the band, I can only hope that that doesn't become one of the headaches of your new role transition. I'm like, God damn, I missed when he was chopping. But speaking of, where you originally started, right? So you've sold your kit since because of financial hardships, and also you're like, well, I'm a fucking bassist now. Or maybe the timeline doesn't add up or align quite like that, but it happened along the way. Every now and then you look over your shoulder, like the affair meme, and you're just like, ooh, because like you just see a fucking nice kid online or some shit.
Yeah, man. I still love drums. When I'm listening to a song, I'll like, drum away to it. Be weird if I played the bass to songs. I'd just be sitting here.
You look like you're fucking playing with your team.
Oh my god, man.
Tickle the belly button.
My missus will be like, you're alright. I'm like, yeah, I'm just practicing.
That's the neat
She's like,
thing.
you don't practice.
It's the rising tide of coom, because freaking Phil's getting so excited. He's like, God damn, both instruments at the same time? Fuck yeah, brother. Maybe we'll see the rising tide of coom one day. But
It's
fucking awesome. So, and do you have any kits that you've been having an affair on your bass guitar with and just looking at online? Any specific?
Like any kits I look at are like electric ones because they're the only ones I could fit at home. But I mean, just being in a band in general and music gear is so expensive.
It is, yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's alright. I'll stick to the new one.
It really does. Like,
I'll just stick to those.
I'm not sure if Black Friday is like exclusive to the U.S. I'm pretty sure it is because we're the only place.
Yeah,
we've got it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But like every now and then, I'm like, yeah, really, Black Friday is the only time where most musicians probably get their equipment because they're like, yeah, fuck that. Like, I'm not getting it any other time of the year. It's just way too expensive.
So expensive, dude.
All right. Well, what are? I hate when I get stumped like this. I've been doing this for so long, but nonetheless, 5 bands. Top 5 bands of all time.
Of all time, AC/DC 1, Metallica 2, Slipknot 3. I like that stuff. I like. I'm going to say A Day to Remember 4. They're awesome. And The Rising Tide, bro, 5.
Well, I mean, you gotta give your own
John
band
Cena.
I think that's valid. All right, Mr. Phil Brooks. What about 5 bands that are relevant to the writing process of The Rising Tide that aren't any of your top 5?
That's going to be a hard one. I don't actually write any of the music. It's going to have to be this fella answering that for me, I guess.
Well, Cody does most of the writing, but I know these days it's very much, he's going to hate me for saying this, but I want to say like on the Alpha Wolfie kind of vibe.
He's going to hate you.
He's going to smack me for saying that, but I don't listen to a lot of those bands, so I can't really... Currents?
Yeah, Invent Animate.
Invent Animate, yeah, that's definitely one of them.
Lorna Shore for
yeah.
Die For.
Yeah.
Yeah,
some of the older stuff was definitely like Slaughter to Prevail, like, yeah, definitely Lorna Shore, though, like, some Whitechapel shit in like the earlier days, but...
Yeah, honestly, bro, with my job, I'm just a network guy, man. I'm the networker. That's what I know.
He just looks good for us.
Yeah.
He's a very handsome man.
I'm the handsome one.
Yeah. Mr. Handsome Phil Brooks. It's a fucking solid name. I like that.
Not even the first time I've heard that today.
Well, we gotta look out for each other. Boys gotta support boys because these are gonna be like, what's such a sexy name? Like, no, we gotta say that shit. Don't we?
You're like, fuck yeah, that's a solid name,
What
bro.
is it? You share it with CM Punk and the singer for Impending Doom.
Yeah, CM Punk's name's Phil Brooks.
Really?
Yeah, out of it, eh?
Weird, man. I mean, there can't just be one Phil Brooks. I'm sorry to tell you. Just like there can't be one Sean Cross. Not that Cross is my actual legal last name, but we're going to get away from that real quick. So, okay. I think at least for the bassist of the Rising Tide for now, I think that will be it for your story, sir. And we'll go ahead and check the time, see how we're doing with that. 30 minutes. Not bad at all. All right, Mr. Colledge.
It's not.
Let's dig into it, dude. Fucking full, messy nacho cheese, super nacho platter worth of just goop and goodness. But time to talk about your story, sir. Take it away. Why am I Canadian all of a sudden? What the fuck?
I don't know what I was about to say. When did I start? I think I started doing anything musical. Like, I started playing drums when I was like 7, and I was obsessed with it. I know I wanted to pick up guitar, but my brother had picked up guitar first, and we were like, oh, we can't form like a family band if we have 2 guitarists. We need a drummer and a guitarist. And we used to like jam like Avenged Sevenfold and stuff together, which was sick. But yeah, and I think roughly when I was like 13, I started like fucking around with like the extreme vocals and stuff like that, and it took me ages to get it, but I went through all these different styles. I think, yeah, with 16, one day magically got it to Infant Annihilator, and I was like, 100%, I've now got it. This is what I want to do. I still played drums. Like, I was in a band called Calvary in my hometown. It's like a thrash metal band that kind of sounded like Lamb of God and Testament and all that type of stuff. But there's not a lot of like opportunities and stuff where I was from. And so ended up moving to Palmerston, and I really wanted to join a band and do vocals. And I think it was just after lockdown, or the first lockdown we had. And yeah, so I joined another band that I originally was the drummer for. And they weren't a fan of the vocalist's writing style. So one night we got absolutely off our faces, and we were just doing like drunken karaoke to like Lamb of God and stuff like that. And I'm not tooting my own horn, but I'm pretty good at what I do. And so yeah, I smashed out Laid to Rest by Lamb of God, and the guitarist was sitting there, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna have a chat." And so yeah, next day we had a chat, and he asked me to be the vocalist, and I was a bit iffy on it for a wee while. And yeah, time passed, and I ended up trying to form another band because I wanted to do more like extreme stuff, because that was still like another thrash metal band, and I was like, how I can't do the angry like goblin noises to that type of stuff. I can't do like Whitechapel Lows to that type of stuff. So yeah, I put more feelers out there, and then Kahi had hit me up, and he was talking about potentially doing something together. And then 3 months went by, and he never started it. And then Phil wanted to start the Rising Tide back up, and he'd got a guitarist, which was Cody. And then, yeah, Kahi had put what you on to me, eh?
Yeah, I went to a Depth show, and I was talking to Kahi, and he said, "Oh, you should get the Rising Tide back together, bro." And I was like, "I don't know any vocalists, man. If I knew any vocalists, I would." Because I was in a reggae band, what's happening. And so, yeah, he told me to reach out to Matt, and I hit him up on Facebook, and yeah.
And then I went around to his house one day. He sent me the 2 songs of like back in the day that he wanted me to learn. And then, yeah, all of a sudden, we're in a rehearsal space just jamming out to the old songs and stuff like that. And then this fucker was like, "Cool, boys, we're going on tour."
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I was like, "Oh, fuck, okay, sweet." Yeah, that's pretty much that.
We played 2 shows and then went on tour.
Yeah, they were like the testers to see if this new lineup was going to work, and then all of a sudden, Phil was just like, "Cool, let's go." And just hasn't stopped since then.
Hell yeah. No, it's cool. And sometimes you really have to trust your gut on that. And once you see a potential for avalanche or snowball effect, domino effect, as far as the momentum, sometimes you can't really afford to hesitate. You have to jump into that opportunity the moment you kind of have the intuition to see it, or foresee it specifically. But then, without that hesitation, you dive headfirst into it, and sure, maybe it's an ice lake. You know the surface is frozen. You know that if there is a current coming through, that you will get washed away. If there are complications that do occur, well, that will complicate it. But other than that, if there's no reason to hesitate, then don't. Don't. Because that could mean the difference between an album like Trauma releasing. Not that I've listened to it and said, like, this is a really good album. I can tell that you guys are really confident in everything in it. I don't know. I haven't heard it yet. But that isn't to underestimate the confidence in the process that then compelled you guys to then go on tour. Like, that's very quick. I'm sure that even you guys were like, oh shit, okay, cool. I guess we're just on the road now. It's not something that happens often, I don't think, for a lot of musicians. So of course jumping into the opportunity was of the utmost importance. It was the priority number one. Mission objective, if you will. God, I'm using military dialect. What the fuck?
Yeah, well, we got lucky because when we got back together, there was a bit of pop. Like, people were like, oh, yo, these guys are back together again. So we kind of rode that.
It also helped as well that when we did get back together, like, it was after that time of COVID where all of the bands, like, were finally starting to come back out and the music scene was starting to kind of jump out again and people didn't want to be at home. So I think we kind of almost rode those coattails a little bit. Because if we'd have done that, if there was no lockdown and we would have done that, like, I assumed that the reaction for half of that stuff wouldn't have been as big as it was.
It's very true. It's very true. And that's definitely one of the side effects of that pandemic is that once a lot of people were deprived, all around the world, really, of being able to go to museums, go to shows, go to hall assemblies or city halls and stuff. Once they were deprived of that experience, for the most part, for a social experiment, once they were able to return to those experiences, I think that just made the validation of skyrocketed ticket prices, especially here in the U.S. We have so many issues with that shit. It's embarrassing. But the skyrocketing, the inflation of even the music industry as we knew it was inevitable. But it was welcomed because we were all so hungry to be able to be in these rooms, be in these 250-person capped rooms, and be able to see these bands live. We were desperate. We were hungry. So it happened. As the moment that most of the pandemic restrictions and lockdowns were lifted, oh man, we were all rabid. We were all rabid to be sucker punched in the face in a mosh pit because we were like, I miss this, man. It just, that's how it worked. But it still remains that way, I think. And it's because we're like, never again will we be locked down for a year where we're not able to go in public to most of these public gathering places. And I definitely think that that's the right way to go, even if there's like a sickness that takes over the whole world, if you will. Like, I think there were a lot of things that were miscommunicated, and a lot of people were just like, well, if it's the government, I'll trust them. I'm like, really? But it ain't exactly 2021 anymore, so I'm not going to take too much time on my perspective with that. Not only that, but, you know, I've talked about that plenty before. There were a lot of red flags, simply said. But now, you know, that we're back and then you guys were up and running again, you got to utilize the pandemic as a slingshot, really. And then on top of that, my understanding so far of New Zealand and its metal scene through both Josh, Kahi, and Dan is that it is a very tight-knit community. There's not really a sense of competition. There's not a fucking the rising tide versus depths. There's none of that. Not really. Because the community is so small It's like all of you have to be sewn together. But if you manage to fuck up, it's kind of like, what's a good way to describe it? It is very similar to being exiled and banned from Thanksgiving dinner for like very, very, I guess, Christian people. Like, Christian is probably the loosest version of Western monotheism, right? Because it's like, you don't have to go to church every Sunday. Well, we would really like if you came to church on Sunday. It doesn't really go beyond that. Catholicism, Roman Catholicism, Mormonism, being involved with the Pope or the Vatican. It's like, you must attend church every Sunday or you go to hell. Like, you know, obviously that's not how it works, but it might as well be like that half the time. They're very, very serious about their devotion to Christ, which I can't blame them for that, except when it causes issues for other people and other people are victimized for it. But it's very similar to that. Like, imagine you know what? Here's a better example. Imagine being banned from the Hallmark. Like, I'm sure you guys are familiar with the idea of Hallmark, right? Like, the main source of where you get your holiday cards and shit. It's like, you know, have a lovely day. Have a great Christmas. We love and miss you so much. And it just like, it screams insane levels of innocence. Just like, these people might as well be brainwashed. But imagine getting banned from the Hallmark family Thanksgiving table. Like, that's how bad you have to be kicked out of the circle of then the New Zealand deathcore metal community. You have to do something really, really bad, something really fucking stupid for everybody to be like, yeah, no, you're not playing shows with us anymore, or you're not cool. You're not part of the cool kids club anymore. It takes a lot. So you guys are very interconnected. You might as well be sewn together. Let's go ahead and segue into location, and let's talk a little bit about the scene from you guys' perspective. Let's learn something new tonight. So we understand then that, for the most part, when it comes to being a band, a metal band, deathcore band, metalcore band, whatever, from New Zealand, it doesn't take much to make a good impression with local musicians, right? Like I said, you guys are very interconnected. It might as well be one big beehive. So, what is something that you think that the Anatomy Crosscast and its audience has not been told about the New Zealand metal scene so far? It's like the hive mind, if you will. How all of these musicians think. Or maybe what's a wrench that you can throw into that machine. And, you know, this goes into the location questions, really. But let's learn something new tonight about the New Zealand deathcore scene.
I know you're the veteran of
What do I know about the New Zealand deathcore scene? It's not what it used to be back in the days when we first started playing. There was a lot more bands around in 2012 compared to 2025, but all the bands that are playing now, they're like doing it properly, you know. They've all got backing tracks, they're all using in-ears, compared to back in 2012 when we just turn up, plug in and play, you know. Everyone's got a laptop on stage with them.
They're a lot more professional nowadays rather than what that used to be back then.
Because like heaps of the people that were in bands from 2012, they're still in bands now, but they might be in different bands. But they also did the last, 13 years, so they learnt as well. So a lot of the bands that are playing now, they've got experience in it as well.
Okay, sweet. Maybe since when you guys first started, or when you first got involved in the New Zealand deathcore scene and metal scene, maybe back then, as per the side effects of the MySpace era, maybe a lot of people still were kind of stuck up about really being professional. And they're like, we're just playing music to play music. even though they probably sounded like shit sometimes because of those fine-tuned adjustments. But now these days, it's like everybody sounds a lot better. They sound a lot more professional. Everything's a lot tighter, right? But tighter in a way that is meant to compare to the squeezing of a really well-fitted tuxedo on a person. Just like, I can definitely feel that. That's not coming out for a long time. If I breathe out, it's going to rip. Like, very, very similar. If not a little bit looser, but still pretty fucking tight, because the thing is, you guys want to be tight. You want to make a worldwide impression with the music that you present throughout all of these bands in your scene. I mean, hell, after checking out your Spotify profile and then finding the New Zealand metalcore playlist, listening to some of the bands on there, I'm like, yeah, goddamn. Like, most of these bands, mind you, I only listened to a couple, so not all of them, but for the bands I did listen to, I'm like, this kind of reminds me of Ocean's 8 Alaska with how fucking tight it is, but the bounce, the 50-50 between, like, really genty, heavy, just chaos, and then almost a James of Ocean's 8 Alaska accent, whether deliberate or not, it's just what I observed, on top of, like, a lot more relaxed, almost lo-fi or post-emo melodies and shit. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, this is interesting. This is fun. But nonetheless, it all sounded really good. What I've heard so far is phenomenal. And that's also why I'm so intent on doing, a session starting at 1:30 o'clock, 1:30 a.m. in the morning for me. And, I mean, when I was in the shower right before this, just making sure to do the final touches. Not literally.
I was going to say.
When I was doing the final touches and, like, really processing everything in my head, I'm like, okay, so this could be a session until dawn, my time. And I'm like, that could be a cool fucking title. It's just like, we did this podcast until dawn, my time, but hopefully not. We'll see what happens. But that's awesome. It's awesome to hear that since back in the day, maybe because there's more attention, there's more like, oh, this is a band from New Zealand, this is fucking cool. Maybe perhaps there's a little bit more attention, there's more audience, there's more youngsters available to listen to this stuff and really just ingest it. Now, it's like, okay, we gotta take this a little bit more seriously, because it's not exactly like we're all competing again, because there's no sense of competition whatsoever. Everybody works together really well. There's no sense of, we gotta be the best New Zealand deathcore band there is, period. No, it's nothing like that. But it's more like, what if we could do a beehive instead of just one crazy-ass hornet that's just, sawing off the heads of bees around the hive and then getting microwaved by the rest of the world, and just like, pfft, fucking the rising tide. What about Slaughter to Prevail? And you're just like, yeah, fucking the dude with the and the 17 layered vocals and shit. I'm just playing around for the most part, but it's like, you aren't exactly trying to make a name for yourselves and be like, we are the New Zealand deathcore band, but instead it's like, why don't we just make a good impression as a group, as a community? And I love that. So, what is something you think, compared to our prior sessions, our most recent sessions, learning about the Maori, I think that's how you pronounce it, the indigenous tribes of New Zealand, learning that there is a completely separate, more colorful, maybe even more neon, cryptid zoology thing going on. But the thing is, New Zealand is still a pretty young country, right? So it seems to be a more approachable people, even with the indigenous tribes, that being the Maori. You got a really well interconnected scene. You got the country, despite what I said before, that the Lord of the Rings franchise was filmed in, and now there's like there's a resort of sorts, there is an exhibit, there is a place because they built the Shire, in New Zealand. You can go visit that. You can go watch Lord of the Rings at the Shire, apparently. So
Matt knows all the details about the Shire.
No, I'm not fucking...
He loves it. He loves Lord of the Rings.
fuck yeah, that's awesome. So other than all of that, let's put all that to the sidelines. Okay? What else can we know? What else can possible tourists that happen to listen to this show, because they're like, oh, a metal band from New Zealand, that's cool. What else should we know about New Zealand after all of that, in you guys' opinions?
There's a town here called Rotorua, and it smells like rotten eggs. Like it's sulfurs in the air because the whole town stinks like rotten eggs. It's just a thing because it's up by the sulfur lakes.
Okay, hold on. Sulfur Lakes?
There's sulfur lakes in
What does that mean? How did...
lakes of sulfur.
That sounds like a nuclear disaster. What the fuck happened in New Zealand for there to be sulfur lakes?
I could be wrong, but I think it's because there's an active volcano.
Yeah, it went off and blew up the bloody bottom half of the world. We've got volcanoes here, bro.
I didn't know there were volcanoes there. Okay, that's new. So, boom, volcanoes. There we go. Tell us about these volcanoes.
Well, there's a town called Taupo, and it's around the crater of the volcano. Like the town's on the top part of the volcano, and there's a huge lake, but that's actually the tip of the volcano. The lake, it's the cone of the volcano.
Whoa.
And it's huge.
Yeah.
Like it's kilometers wide and stuff.
It's not very tall. Like it's obviously not like...
Yeah, you don't drive up. It's like a gradual incline as you're driving to Taupo.
It's like a volcano that's in the earth.
Yeah.
Rather than being...
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's definitely less of a blackhead than maybe other volcanoes around the world, especially
a crater.
Hawaii. Yeah. Okay. That's crazy. Okay. Yeah. See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I didn't know there were fucking volcanoes in New Zealand, especially active ones that create sulfur lakes. That's insane. No wonder why fucking Mordor wasn't that dude. It's like, what does not simply walk into the...
I think there's 5 active volcanoes.
That's something to write about. Wait. Oh, I just had dude. Okay, are you guys mates? Are you guys homies with Darktide?
Boys.
I'm pretty sure that's the reason that their band is called Darktide. I have a hunch that it's named after the sulfur lakes or some shit, but I don't know, maybe not. That's just a hypothesis.
But yeah, the sulfur lakes make the town smell like rotten eggs. It sucks.
Which, especially when it's hot and humid and just gets fucking, like...
Disgusting.
Yeah,
violent.
Ew, yeah.
You can taste it. You can actually taste it.
It's a really pretty looking place, but it fucking smells.
Yeah, it looks nice, but yeah, it stinks.
And you ask the locals and they're just like, what smell?
You're like, how do you deal with that smell, bro? And they're like, what smell?
So like, we are the sulfur.
Well, don't act like you can't smell that, bro.
They just reveal their tusk. Turns out they're orcs. They're like, what smell? What you mean? Reach back on the menu, boys.
Yeah, nah. So yeah. And yeah, I think we've got 5 volcanoes in New Zealand.
5?
One's on an island that went off. Yeah, it went off a couple of years ago, killed some people.
Damn, only a couple?
Yeah, because it's like, it's an island off the coast of New Zealand, so you have to like get a boat there, and they only boat over to take tourists around it because it was dormant, but yeah, no, it went off while people were over there.
Damn, okay. Well, New Zealand has volcanoes. Okay. I didn't know that before. I'm sure the audience didn't know that. That's exactly what we are looking for. I wonder if there's anything else to know about New Zealand, but no spoilers. Well, we'll get to that when we host all these other bands on the show. I think that will be the end then for location. And we are currently at 54 minutes, so we'll go ahead and like do a rough estimate and probably cut it off like right before we started talking about the sulfur lakes and shit, because I think that's a really good talking point. That's crazy. Sulfur lakes. Who would have thought it? Who would have thunk it? But in that case, truly, welcome to part 2 of this Crosscast session, which really, we're just wrapping up the people part of the podcast and kind of getting into the band part of the show, but taking as little time as possible in doing so, because I can definitely feel that I am, that what I have on my desk right now, the sake is doing its work. This Jumex is working its way into my soul, and I'm going to be ready to sleep soon, so I look forward to that. But welcome back to the Anatomy Crosscast. I am your apparently intoxicated host, Cross, and again we have the boys Phil Brooks and Matthew Colledge, which is such cool names. I love you guys' names. I love names that kind of remind me of what could be like some kind of action hero. Just like, this is Phil Brooks, and he's going on an adventure into the Sulfur Lakes, or some shit. He's like, why am I even here?
Phil Brooks in the Sulfur Lakes.
Why am I knee deep in the sulfur? Like, but nonetheless, right? Nonetheless, we return to the Anatomy Crosscast, and with the concluding questionnaire for the people part of the podcast, which really is more or less for Matthew, right? Mr. Colledge, which such a sick name. Like, there's only one letter difference in there, but it's still College. That's awesome.
And the D.
So.
Check him out, sir. Check him out.
In regards to the Rising Tide, right? You didn't really have bands before, from what I've remembered, and the Rising Tide was like, no, that's not true. That's not true. Forgive me. So you did drums for one band way back in the day. You kind of did vocals because people requested that, but you're like, I can't really do thrash vocals. I can't really do Dickie Allen goblin screeches. See, even I have a decent memory. Cool. And then you were like, I can kind of do that, but I'm not really confident in doing that. And then eventually you would get into the Rising Tide, and that's where you are now, right? So, speaking for all of these band experiences, band projects that you had before, is it pretty simple to decipher what you think their bigger picture purpose was for you walking into the role that you're doing now as the frontman of the Rising Tide? Or, I don't know, maybe we share the same depth of philosophy. But do you think there were any bigger picture lessons that you learned by being in those prior projects that maybe have fed into the lyrical concepts of trauma? I hope that's not too complicated a question.
Sure. I wouldn't say as such, like, a lot of the concepts behind trauma, like, so Cody and I both wrote parts of certain songs, or we'd write a song together, or we'd take a song each. A lot of that type of lyrical content that I had in there was more based on everything after that. So I kind of see everything before. It's hard to see a life before the Rising Tide, if that makes sense, because we've put so much time and effort into it. What we did in those bands, which was amazing, there's a different drive with this band, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I kind of started basing a lot of the lyrical content off of stuff that just happened after it. So it's a completely separate thing to what it used to be.
No, that makes absolute sense. because
Sure.
I know for me personally, when it came to any of the band projects that I did before, which I can quote the names Upon These Scars, Awaken Aroused, Stray Jacket Daycare, Blinking Through Bloodshot, and then Warpaint. Those were kind of the main names. Not that they actually fed into anything. They were just names. I made logos for said names, and then nothing happened afterwards. Yeah. I didn't even have the benefit of, oh yeah, I was in a shitty band once. It's like, no, we didn't even make shitty music, which is rather annoying to look back on. But I think that's the retrospective of doing a show like this is, man, have I been doing enough? Something like that. But ultimately, you know, those projects didn't even really go into the shitty band stage. There was once a time back in, I think, 2023 or 2024, had to have been late 23 or early 24, that I was in a band called Home Turf. It is still an existing band. Made the logo for them. I was going to be their bassist. I was going to be their backup vocalist. And I learned that I was stretching myself too thin creatively. And I would eventually leave that band, try to join it later, like some bad ex, just like, I miss being with you. Just the idea of being with you was something. So let's try this again. It didn't work again. And then because of certain political opinions that I had, they're like, we were glad we never worked with a fascist like you. I'm like, okay, bud, okay. But ultimately, you know, that's the farthest I got. So, in reference to what you were just saying, at the very least, you got to experience the shitty band part. And then, you know, sure, that's something that you left behind completely, despite all of the different levels, the greater ascended levels of effort that you put into this project. You still had the opportunity to just kind of, because of all the progress you've made, because of all that you've accomplished with this band, it's almost the same, it's almost the same level of disregard. Just like, yeah, we're doing a lot different now. We're doing a lot better now. Or I'm doing a lot better now than I was before. So I just kind of put those behind me. It ends up kind of paralleling, that's not even a real word. It ends up being a comparable experience to that of just being in chicken scratch band projects that never made any music, or at least that's kind of what I'm understanding it to be. You've done so much and you've accomplished so much, you feel, that compared to those projects before, it's like, yeah, this is kind of like my first band. This is my first official band. And I revel in that. I revel in that, and I'm like, huh, that's cool. That's interesting, because imagine, you know, how frustrated I've been all these years not being able to really make music until I paid someone to make the instrumental, and then I put like 3 layers of vocals over it and tried to make each of those vocal layers just different enough that it's like, whoa, he has an entire chorus of people in there. And I'm like, yep, that's kind of the point, but that's all me. Keeping that in mind, it's like, wow, that's cool. That's cool that you had a similar experience despite all more of the effort that you ended up putting in. So I don't know. I was like, I think I was trying to get to a point there, but I didn't really reach it like I was planning to. It's just like, I guess it's interesting to think that so many of the musicians I've hosted on this show have had similar retrospections, or just looking back on everything. They've had similar responses to full projects that they used to be in. And they have a similar response to that of how I've had to disregard non-existent projects. It's like, yeah, of course, you learned lessons, you learned more about yourself and your creative aspects, but ultimately, you know, you're doing so much exponentially better now that everything before is kind of like irrelevant in certain very, very specific ways. So good on you. Good for you. I'm glad you found then a home for all of your creative efforts that far outstands anything that you've done before. And I look forward to, yeah, I look forward to my turn with that shit. So, same question I asked Mr. Brooks, sir, Mr. Colledge. If you personally have 5 artists, albums, anything like that, that you think, if I don't know why, every now and then I think like maybe people have DNA bands that go into how they write or do vocals or anything like that for their band. If you do have any DNA bands, which means, okay, I like to get, for me personally, for my own efforts, Silent Planet for lyrical depth, The Last 10 Seconds of Life for groove and heaviness, Shrine of Malice for occultic heaviness, Make Them Suffer because piano and deathcore, metalcore, and then While She Sleeps because full band choir, right? Those are just like very important aspects of my DNA as a musician. Would you say you have a similar experience and a similar approach to how you write music? Like, do you incorporate certain things from certain bands, or are you just like, yeah, I'm writing deathcore, I'll just write it as originally as possible?
It's hard to say because each song's obviously very different, but yeah, there's definitely like the top 5 influences, like Whitechapel, like 100%, especially with the EP The Hope We Die For we did. Like a lot of those vocals were inspired by Phil Bozeman himself. But there's like a lot of it is just inspiration from the vocalists themselves. So obviously like patterning and like rhythms and stuff like that. Traders, like you said, The Last 10 Seconds of Life. And then the more like overall epic anthem-y kind of sound, putting onto like Lorna Shore, or even Falling in Reverses, like new stuff, like coming into the more cleaner tones and stuff like that. There's a wide range of stuff that influences it. That's case, for me specifically, not just necessarily for the Rising Tide, but
right. And in that case, let's attempt to fine tune this a little bit more, because perhaps there's more conversation to be had, more commentary to contribute. But in reference to trauma, as I would say, this Crosscast is meant to provide insight from the 2 members we have available tonight into that album and their perspectives regarding it. What do you think are relevant inspirations for your vocal contributions as well as your lyrical contributions to Trauma, if there are any that you can fine tune?
Shadow of Intent, definitely. Yeah, especially with a lot of those songs. Vocally, Shadow of Intent, more of those big, heavier choruses, or more of the anthem choruses, I guess you could say. You could almost do sing-alongs with them. A couple of songs, definitely like a Black Dahlia Murder influence, which was kind of different, but I wanted to try something a little bit different. And then, yeah, definitely like Lorna Shore and Slaughter to Prevail. It's a lot of those heavy bands, maybe a little bit of Chelsea Grin in there. I think those 5 bands are a pretty good way to sum that up.
Interesting. And in that case, I cannot wait to listen to this album for the first time, because I've heard a lot. I've heard of Currents. I've heard of these more dreamy metalcore bands, and that was from, Phil's perspective. And then from you, it's like more of the epic franchise deathcore bands that we have today. So I'm like, damn, how much is like infused into this record that I just haven't touched yet? And I'm like, God damn it, why did I wait so long to listen to this album? But it's also just, it's part of the experience. You could say it's toxic YouTuber mindset of, oh, I'm going to wait until I interview this band, if I ever do, to actually listen to the album. But sometimes the anticipation is so fucking intense that I might just throw this dresser right here across the room because I'm like, God damn, that song was so good. But you never know. You never know. There are CDs on top of there, so mind you, and my clothes are in here too, so we'll see if that happens. I might need to get me a mannequin like hardcore Keem, that way I can beat the shit out of something, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens when I listen to Trauma. We'll see if it actually causes any trauma to this poor household that I'm currently living in. But I am very, very curious nonetheless. And I highly anticipate the opportunity to finally listen to this album and see what these guys had to say. So, speaking of that, let's go ahead and migrate into, more or less, part 3, right? And this part of the show will incorporate the band questionnaire. So we're having both Phil and Matthew depersonalized after offering their perspective, offering their backstory, more or less. And now we're going to see how similar their answers are to some of these questions. Now, we do have the final remaining member from the original lineup in session, so that's a good start. And then we have the vocalist in session 2. The vocalist and the other one of the other guitarists, they go, more or less, they went 50-50 in writing lyrics and getting most of the ideas compiled together for their first full-length Trauma, right? So I do believe that Matthew Colledge will have just enough perspective as far as how this band operates in identity. So, first question, one of those clickbait questions of all, and really it is a half and half as far as, it was just a cool name, or sometimes there's a really cool story behind it. I'm pretty sure we know what I'm about to ask. Where did the band name come from?
I read a sign wrong. I saw a sign and I read it wrong, and it's how we got the band name, bro.
And what does this?
There's no real interesting story to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's still pretty fun. What? Pardon me. What road sign did you misread? There was a lot of what in there.
It was actually just the Billabong sign. The Billabong logo. It didn't look anything like the Rising Tide. I don't know what I was on about. I have no clue.
It's fucking amazing. Okay. So, technically the band should be called Billabong. But we already got saying a Sugabog, so I think they'd be like, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's no real cool story to that. It's super strange.
You know what?
If I knew we were going to do as well as we had, I probably wouldn't have named us that.
No, I think it works really well. And here's one thing I can say after being told this very, very brief story, but still a story nonetheless. The logo almost looks like the same style of logo as all of these like surfer brands. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, but it really does look like another, Vans or Billabong, or I'm not that familiar with surfer gear and the brands that correspond with it, but I can definitely see that being on a billboard. But not only that, I can see it on like a chain linked billboard that's on like a coastline shop, and just like the Rising Tide, dude. We're right next to volcanoes and sulfur lakes and shit, dude. Like, I can definitely see that. And I think that adds a little bit more charm to it and a little bit more validation to the logo. So therefore, there's more substance, and I'm just fucking idiot. I misread Billabong. How did I misread Billabong? Poor Phil here is probably like, I'm like wrestling with himself while the rest of the band is, their stomachs are hurting because they're laughing so much. But no, that's cool. I like that. It might be goofy as shit. It might not be a Edward. Jesus. Shakespeare poem. I don't know why I said Edward. But because his first name was William. I'm like, Edward Shakespeare. I'm a poet, Bella. Edward Shakespeare. That's gonna be in the fucking title, guaranteed. But nonetheless, you know, there that's a little bit more substance maybe to the name than what you had before. So bing bada boom billabong. Let's go ahead and move on to the second question then. In the opinions of the members of this band that we have tonight, what do you think distinguishes or separates, either from a marketing perspective or a genretic attempt? What do you think separates the Rising Tide from other bands in the New Zealand deathcore or metal scene?
Our sound.
Matthew's
Our sound.
Matthew's like, it's the alpha wolf part.
You can tell that he's thinking there too, right? You can tell.
It's, I don't know, definitely high energy. Like, if you've seen like an Alpha Wolf show, we definitely have like a very high energy set. Same with like the crowd interactions and stuff like that. Like the amount of times that Cody's like thrown his guitar off and just like jumped in the pit, and you don't see that often, especially in New Zealand.
Yeah, he's young. All the people in the metal scene are like my age, bro. We're kind of, if we jump in the mosh pit, we're getting hurt. Our knees are breaking for days after that.
Fair enough. So,
but yeah, Cody's young. He's got the energy.
Maybe even...
yeah, and our sound's different, I think.
Okay. Well, I mean, definitely, if through your first full-length Trauma, I'm able to, personally to hear a very fascinating, mind you, balance between modern-day dreamy metalcore and then symphonic deathcore, somehow, some way. If I'm able to hear a variation and then like a 50-50 balance between that, I'll definitely let you guys know in the front to back session that I'll do like sometime after we get this session recorded. Possibly even just later today after I don't know, fucking sleep. We'll see what happens. But I'm very curious. I'm very curious to see how it is, and therefore the energy that music would then bring into a live setting if Cody is able to jump into a crowd with his guitar and just disappear for a couple seconds, but not get dropped to the bottom of the set, and you're just like, oh, where did Cody go? Like he's fucking dead. Let's continue the set. Like if he's able to crowd surf and shit off of the hype and off of the energy of this band, that's something special. That's very, very special. It takes hard work. It takes dedication and many years of social networking or even like, you know, crowd working and shit. It's the same stuff as being a comedian. You have to take years to crowd work, get familiar with your audience, and then you get to do that fun stuff. So if Cody's able to do that, then I can only imagine how energetic your music must be. Combining, I guess, it's a good third combination then possibly between Invent Animate, Shadow of Intent, and Alpha Wolf, and those are three very, very different things. One is more just pissed off metalcore, one is more dreamy, lucid metalcore, and the other is symphonic deathcore. So, well, for sure, a lot of cores, but nonetheless, there are different aspects from each of those subgenres that can play a part into making a band really unique. So, I guess I'll just have to hear it for myself. But, in you guys' opinions, then, what is the most important thing about writing a song for the Rising Tide? For what you write for those songs?
Cody gives it the seal of approval.
Yeah. When he chucks in a fat, chunky breakdown.
Okay.
Because that's like the classic Tide like trademark is just the weird off time, fucking breakdowns, massive sub drops.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. And that
Groovy.
Yeah.
groovy. Okay. So groovy, catching people off guard with maybe the often, like, dude, well-educated, musically inclined people are probably shitting their pants and getting into the mosh pit because they're beating the fuck out of people. Because they're like, this time signature is off. But this will be the final chunk of questionnaire for our first date Crosscast with the rising tide, baby. So, with these final two questions, which really this was all built into the final part of this Crosscast, I'm gonna give you guys the opportunity to either talk shit or provide praise. Either way works. For the Anatomy Crosscast, what did you enjoy about your first date? I know I forgot to bring flowers and any beer for you guys. I had a whole bunch of fucking alcohol over here for me, and I am, considerably tired as well as intoxicated, so don't mind me. But next time I'll bring flowers, if there is a next time, okay? But what did you enjoy about the show? What did you dislike about the show?
I like how you gave us both time to talk and explain our stories.
Yeah.
That was a really good part. Didn't lead to any cross-up. We weren't like interrupting each other or fumbling over each other. So that was really good, bro.
Yeah, especially compared to a lot of podcasts, I think there's been one me and you have done in the past where it's like only one of us is really talking quite a lot, and it's nice to kind of have that back and forth, and also being able to feel comfortable in the podcast to be able to just shit talk and just talk the whole time. Like if we want to go on a fucking tangent, we can go on a tangent. Like there's no strict like, oh, you got to talk about this and you can't say this and all that type of crap. So
no, we don't. What I can reassure everyone who might be listening and who might be interested in jumping on the show sometime in the future, no matter what my own personal political beliefs are, you will never find this to be, for example, just throwing this out there, a show that is bigoted and leaning towards one side of the aisle or the other. And mind you, that's just in the context of the U.S. It's different everywhere around the world. But the thing is, I believe in true counterculture, which also means all-inclusive. Now, the moment that your ideals become problematic, or, you're like problematic in the way of you refuse to accept anything else, which alludes, in my opinion, to the word bigotry, that's when it's, even then, like I still want to get you on the show if you happen to have a band, but if you're going to call me a fascist on my show or something because I don't support your beliefs, then obviously it's not going to be a great first date. Like, that's why I use the language of more intimate experiences, more romantic experiences, because I want to romanticize the interaction with bands all around the world. I don't want it to be which is, to be honest, why I've been going a lot more global recently. I don't want it to be a conversation of later on, you're like, this guy voted for this guy at one point in time. He's a fascist. I'm like, dude, political opinions are temporary. But nonetheless, I believe in variety. I want to hear everyone's perspective. And that's what makes this show so exhausting, but so worth it, is maybe one day people will recognize the show as in its overwhelming numbers. I'm not sure. We'll see what happens. But I will do 1,000 more of these if it means that at least one person perhaps finds a new band through conversation first instead of music first. For example, we happen to host a controversial band like King 810, based in Flint, Michigan. Their vocalist did time for murder. That's not a secret. But the thing is, since then, he has become so much more religiously in tune. He's very much pagan, but he's very much a neutral being, and he doesn't really live a life of hate or violence anymore. He's just like, that's how we were raised in Flint, Michigan, is playing with guns as kids and doing turf wars that actually killed other kids because this and that. It's like that happened. But he reflects on that now through King 810 and just, quote, writes about a week's worth of time in the life of what we lived. And that's each of the albums is just a week. That still mind blows. It still blows me away. But nonetheless, we want to welcome as much perspective as possible, and we want this to be a very comfortable show. We don't want this to be a show where people have certain opinions and they feel like because their opinions aren't the only ones that are being supported, that like this is a terrible show or something. I've been quoted as the Joe Rogan of Deathcore recently. I'm like, I'll take it. Like, I want this to be. It doesn't help that I have a shaved head now. But I want this to be as inclusive as possible to everyone, because I want to learn as many people's stories as possible, even if their stories might be considered controversial or some shit. I want to hear those stories even more, because we have a lot of cancer culture running rampant through our scene on a global scale, and I'm kind of fucking sick of it. So, you know, as peacefully as possible, mind you, I was like, I didn't exactly go, I'm tired of cancel culture and this is like the tail end of the show. No, absolutely not. Still going to keep my composure and just say that I don't feed into that stuff at all. I really don't. Like, if there are receipts, if there's stuff that someone can be canceled for, absolutely remove them from the scene. Otherwise, fuck off, because you're actually getting in the way of people's potential careers that are already so hard to make money in. But I appreciate you guys' positive critique and criticism then for the Anatomy Crosscast, and in the near future, sometime, maybe in 2026, I look forward to the premise, the potential opportunity of getting the other two, maybe even by then 3, we'll see. Actually, I take that back. There are 3 other members. I'm a fucking idiot. So I look forward in the future possibly to getting the other 3 members involved. That way we can tell their stories, get even more intimately connected with the Rising Tide, and go from there, right? Talk with other bands like Dark Tide or fucking Organectomy. There are plenty of other bands in the country of New Zealand, the country of New Zealand alone that I would love to talk with, because they make fucking killer music and they seem to be surrounded and consumed, engulfed by an amazing community. So, speaking of that, let's go ahead and continue the Slingshot, right? Let's go ahead and continue the process that led us to this conversation, which shout out to Depths, shout out to Joshua Bain and Kahi from Depths. What band, whether local to New Zealand or maybe kind of close, would you both recommend to jump on the Anatomy Crosscast in the future?
Pizza Bears are in their image.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Hit up in their image. They're awesome dudes. They're a really good band. They're actually from that town that smells like rotten eggs. So you can talk to them about that.
Okay. So you said the after image, right?
In their image.
Okay. Okay.
All one word as well.
Interesting. You'll definitely have to text me that on Instagram, because I'm hearing in mirror image, right?
In their, THEIR.
Oh. Okay. In their image. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's on.
Okay. Yay. I'm less American each session. I promise I'm less American each session, because I try to hear out the accents, man, but sometimes it's probably the freaking alcohol, let's be real. I'm just like, mirror age. Like, but in their image. Okay, so third person, some weird god shit going on. Awesome. So in
Yeah,
there,
check them out, dude.
any other bands you want to recommend?
Let's see, Hunter, an Auckland band, Hunter.
Hunter?
Oh, Brawler.
Brawler.
Brawler?
Yeah, Hunter from Auckland, Brawler from Hamilton.
What else we got?
There's heaps of bands.
Yeah. Flowers of Hades.
Yeah, Flowers of Hades, Teeth and Nails, Fukushima.
Ooh, yeah, Fukushima.
Lucid Shift from Christchurch.
Yeah, Lucid Shift, they're a really good band, like heavy ass.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, that's a good amount of bands as far as I'm concerned. And if y'all can do me a favor, and before you kind of separate from this experience and continue on with your night or conclude it, just make sure to at least list the bands that you just recommended to the show in the same chat we've been communicating up until this conversation. And if you have the time to, I would love to have their official Instagram handles, or yeah, let's go with Instagram handles, make it easier, because Instagram DMs, duh. But if you could do me a favor and just provide a link to each of their Instagram profiles, that way I can go ahead and check them out, then we can continue the Slingshot in our New Zealand chapter for the Anatomy Crosscast. But we got pretty close to dawn, but not that close, okay? It's only about to be 4 a.m. my time, which means it's about to be, what, like 10, 11 p.m. for you guys?
Right, it's about to be midnight, yeah.
About to be midnight. Holy fuck. Okay. Well, fair enough. I started, or wanted to start at midnight. We're about to end at midnight for them, their time. That's crazy. That's pretty crazy as far as I'm concerned. It's pretty loco coco. But this has been the Anatomy Crosscast. I have been one of 3 of your only true counterculture hosts, jumping right back to New Zealand. Not even 1 episode later, right? Not even 2 episodes later, we're back in New Zealand talking with the rising tide. Phil Brooks and Matthew Colledge. Thank you boys for jumping onto the show. Thank you for telling your story. The laughs that we had, the stupid jokes that we told, the Under the Skin session for your new album that I've been waiting to listen to forever now. So now I'm just like, I have a reason to listen to it. I have more reason to listen to it, mind you. Sorry. But thank you for your time. And I really, really do look forward to getting this session and Matthew Colledge's new intro for the Crosscast, utilizing Agung from Matt Kluk's original instrumental, right? To be honest, I'm not even sure what you said. I'm not sure what you said for the intro, but it sounded sick. I'm like, okay, I'll work with it. But I look forward to getting that intro up, and just say that we have a new Crosscast intro to utilize for promotion of the show, as well as this session. This will be broken into 3 parts, but yeah, unless you guys wanted to give a shout out to anyone at all, take the time to do so.
I'd like to give a shout out to my endorsees, Double Fives and Beatwear. So shout out to them for the sick merch. Make sure you check them out.
Any other shout outs?
Hi Mum, hi Dad.
Shout out to me for just being the man. Shout out to Cody, Ryan.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, bro, for having us.
Absolutely. Always happy to be here. I will always be intertwined into the deeper psychological fabrics of this worldwide community. That's always been the goal. So welcome to the cobweb, gentlemen. Welcome to the cobweb. That sounds like some weird ass Spider-Man shit. Let's be real. Just like welcome to the cobweb. But everyone, have a great night. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye. I just pulled a Markiplier. I just pulled a fucking Markiplier.